All right, everyone, we have to get straight to the show today. There's no time to waste. The Earth is in trouble. Because, of course, you are listening to Network Special, the only podcast you need to listen to hear about the golden age of appointment-based television, when you used to have to watch what was on when it was on, but now, thanks to the glory and the magic of the internet, we can watch these things again and again, and we will be talking about the Earth Day Special, first seen on ABC on April 22nd, 1990. I am one of the co-hosts of this show. My name is Zachariah, and I'm here with my other delightful co-host, who?
Father C. Nathan Shear.
And whom is my Earth Papa sitting in the production booth?
Jeremy J. Demery.
What's your middle
What's the
name?
J stand for?
Yeah.
Jams. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait,
All right.
is your
Turn
middle
off,
name
turn off
Jeremy?
the comedy faucet for a minute, Jeremy.
Is your middle name Jeremy spelled the correct way?
Yeah, it's Jeremy spelled like an art student with a JH, like you're some California hippie. And then in the
GH.
middle, GH, sorry. Thank you for the correction. Was not looking forward to the emails. This is a big one, you guys. This is a special that is packed with every single celebrity from 1990. There are neck-breaking tonal changes in this thing as it goes from a drama about a dying Mother Earth to documentary segments to cartoon breaks to clips from other shows to what else do we have? Music videos,
like
fourth wall breaks. It's all there.
People watching the show we're watching?
Yes, right. You want it? It's in this thing somewhere in a seemingly random order. And here to make sense of all of this, what some would argue is too much special for 2 hours, is our guest. He is a TV writer and an executive producer and a regular producer of shows like Cheers, Frasier, and Modern Family. He is a published author. He is a teacher. He is going on a lecture soon in South Africa to teach other people how to be raving successes in the world of entertainment. But most importantly, it is this crown jewel that he is, and I will phrase this very carefully, he is a credited writer on the Earth Day Special. Please welcome Mr. Dan O. Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, that smattering of applause is well-deserved.
It actually is, yes.
Is there a lot of overlap between the entertainment industries in South Africa and America?
Not yet. But,
Not yet.
Ask me when I get back. You won't have to, actually.
Yeah. We'll just know.
Yeah, it's some crazy writer's retreat they've asked me to do for a couple of years. People in South Africa, not people here, have asked me to go there. But they've invited me a number of times, and I've always said no. And this year they just got me on a weekday, and they promised I'd see elephants. And I said, all right, I'll go. And I've regretted it every day and will continue to until I go there in September.
But that's on your that's on your rider for everything you do, is I want to see an elephant.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, so far, 0 elephants.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no one listens to no one reads my rider.
That's why you ditch every project.
Absolutely, halfway through. Cheers.
That's like the
no
brown M&M. You're just testing.
Yeah, did they
See
read
if they're
the
reading the
rider?
rider.
So April 22nd, 1990, where are you?
There's a time known as the Jazz Age.
Sure.
Very different from now.
Yep, moonshine flew through the street.
We would dance to Charleston until the cows came home. And let's see, back then, I was a writer on Cheers. I was writing and producing Cheers at the time. And that's where I was.
Okay. And what season of Cheers was that?
If it was 1990, we ended in 93. It was 11 years. So season 8 or 9, something like that.
Okay.
And so the show had been on 8 years by the time this came on. And not to skip ahead into the special or anything, but one thing I'm sure we'll be talking about is that there are scenes from different sitcoms of the day talking about, and in the scenes, they're all watching this on TV. And the big mistake that they make, among many, many, many mistakes, is that they Cheers, like I said, had been on 9 years, Married with Children had been on a while, Golden Girls, all these shows. And America had never seen them without the studio audience having their own audio input to the show. And so and they don't have it at all. They're playing to to emptiness. And so it's very strange to see these characters in all these shows doing these hard jokes that are meant to make an audience laugh, and then there's this like horrible, dizzying moment of silence before the next straight line comes. And so even if the material is witty, and it's very hard to judge because we're so used to hearing that thing that's now gone, which is any kind of positive affirmation, that those spots just lie there. It's just really just not well thought out at all. We could have easily shot those at the end of a shoot night, at the end of a show, tell the audience, stick around, we're going to shoot this one more scene for this special and you'll be part of the soundtrack, blah, blah, blah. But why they didn't do it, no idea.
Seeing a three-camera...
Had there been... Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, is it going to be like this all night?
It probably will be, sorry.
Okay.
Had there been... now there's always comedies with no laugh track. Had there been any yet? Like, what was the first comedy?
Oh, well, yeah, sure, absolutely.
With no laugh track?
Oh, well, you go way back. I mean, like, MASH was a show that had a laugh track, and then they fought to get rid of the laugh track. So in the last few years, no laugh track. But, I mean, shows like The Wonder Years had been on at that time, no laugh track. And so
with this, like, in the sitcom format of, multi...
Well, not in multicam. In multicam, it's just our eyes are so used to seeing it. We're so used to experiencing with it. It would just be very weird because, I mean, very briefly, I know we're starting the show with a tangent, so I will be very quick, but sitcoms come from two different places. There are literally two different kinds of sitcoms. The ones that are evolved from movies, so the single camera, they're shot out of sequence and there's no audience and no expectation. And then the multicam that has a stage there and clearly a studio audience, which is descended from the theater. And for that kind of show, it is understood, and it's never expressed, but it is innately understood. We are watching the recording of a play happening in front of an audience. So to do that kind of format, that kind of lighting, that kind of style of acting, that big acting for an audience, without the audience is very jarring. It literally is part of the DNA of that kind of sitcom. All right, back to your show.
Well, I was actually going to ask, and I'm sorry if you've been asked this a million times on every podcast you go on, and I am just going by the infamously unreliable IMDb scroll. Cheers is the first major thing I see that you have a written by credit on as a writer. I see you're on Newhart. Yeah. But were you a staff writer on Newhart?
I was a story editor on Newhart. It's an odd little thing, but I was a wrter, and I had written on shows before that. Newhart was the first sort of big show, and I'm responsible for the finale of Newhart, which was kind of notorious. And then I went from there to Cheers and on. But I'd been writing, by the time I got to Cheers, I started in 85, I got to Cheers in 89, I think. So, yeah, I'd been writing a bunch of stuff before then, yeah.
So my main question was going to be, it's easy to see the leap of how you get hired onto Cheers from something like Newhart, right. But how did you get in the door in Newhart itself?
Newhart, by the time I got to Newhart, I had been already staffed on some shows that are long forgotten, and I'd done freelance episodes, which you could do more of back then. And one of the shows I did a freelance episode was called The Charmings. Do you know about this show?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I freelanced. Actually, I did the Halloween episode.
Nate and I have sent each other clips from The Charmings.
I wonder if any are mine. I wrote what became the Halloween episode, and I was very ill-suited for that show. And for everybody out there.
I know that everyone out there is familiar with The Charmings, but can you give the quick elevator pitch for that show?
Oh, sure. It's the idea is that Snow White and a dwarf and her husband and I think the magic mirror from the original Snow White story were put in a deep sleep, and they wake up in suburban 1980s and have to make a go of it, living among regular 1980s suburban couples. And it's so funny. And and I was very ill-suited for this, but I got a gig writing the episode, and I was told as I was getting notes on the first draft through the second draft, they kind of chided me, and they said, they literally said, "Would a magic mirror say that?" And I was like, I don't know, I don't have a magic mirror. But I also,
But would he be so racist?
I pitched for Punky Brewster, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And at the time I was writing with a guy named Tom Anderson from Rocky River now, and he and I went and pitched to Punky Brewster, and and we were all excited about it. We were young kids, it's like a big network TV show, and we took a bus to get into Burbank, and we had all these pitches all written out, and the guy who we're pitching to sort of makes us realize halfway through that he's not going to buy anything. He doesn't like anything we're doing. He has some bad reason reason why we couldn't do it. And he kind of lets us know that we're only there as a favor to our agent, that he owed our agent a favor. Well, I don't know why he did that. But we leave and we're very demoralized. And we decide we're at NBC. And so, well, let's eat at the NBC commissary. And then we'll tell the people back in Painesville, Ohio, well, we ate lunch at NBC today. Just, save a little bit of dignity. And we're in the commissary, and I go to clear off a tray that's on a table there because it's a cafeteria type thing. And I'm throwing out the stuff. And on this tray was a carton of orange juice, which splashed and left a neon yellow stain on the lap of my white pants. By the way, white pants. And so now I have bombed out at Punky Brewster and to the eyes of the world wet myself. And now we have to walk back to this bus and take the bus like 2 miles back or 8 miles back to the apartment we were staying in. And where I'm not the only guy with that stain.
Soulman Fry didn't like me.
Yeah, I know. It really was.
Piss myself.
But it really was one of those turning moments is if we can't get into to pitch and write Punky Brewster, do we have any business being out here? But just luck happened, and we worked hard and finally met people. We freelanced a bunch, and I met a couple of writers who had been on Newhart. We wrote a spec Newhart. Back then, you would write pick a show you liked and write a script for it as though you were writing an episode, and that would be your calling card. And so the spec Newhart got us on Newhart. At the same time, we had written a spec Cheers, and the people at Cheers saw it, and they ended up making an episode out of it. Actually, they turned it into 2 episodes because there were 2 stories in it. So there's one where Cliff is on Jeopardy, and then some other one, I can't remember. But they turned our spec script into episodes and they brought us onto staff.
So just tenacity is your answer of how you got it.
Yeah, and extreme luck. Really, truly luck.
Sure.
Okay, I want to talk now.
Please.
Can you explain what you mean by I'm responsible for the finale of Newhart?
Well, first of all,
did you come up with the idea?
Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, they wake up.
They
right,
wake
and
up.
then
he wakes up with Suzanne Plachette from the first series. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, don't pretend you know anything about TV.
I read it on Wikipedia. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll tell you. It's all right. I had seen the finale of Saint Elsewhere recently. And Saint Elsewhere, the end of the show, it turns out that the entire series had been the daydream, essentially, of an autistic character looking at a snow globe. And so I went into work and I said, hey, wouldn't it be great if our character gets knocked in the head? This is Bob Newhart's character. And rather than wake up, he wakes up with his first wife from the first series, and turns out the entire second series is a dream from the first character. And we end with the old style credits and this and that. And we went ahead and did it. And then Bob Newhart came to the executive producers. I wasn't the executive producer then. And said, did I ever tell you my wife thought of this idea? And they were like, she did? And he said, yeah. And then since then, that's been the story, that Bob's wife had thought of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You are one of the greats.
Well, the way he broke the news is he pretended to be on the phone with her, right?
Yeah, wow,
honey,
I love that.
honey?
Oh, that's good. Oh, boy.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, we can talk about these blips in showbiz history. These
Cheers, the big stuff,
these also-rans. Let's talk the Earth Day special.
Yeah.
I guess chronologically is sort of how I'm going to start approaching it, but honestly, there's so much we can dive into. If whatever captures our fancy in this show, we can kind of go into. But we, like you said, Nathan, we enter into this world by watching a mirror of what's going on in our own living rooms, because we see Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito in his full ponytail era, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Costner has one too, as a man bun later on.
Yeah, a lot of great long locks in this show. They're playing Paula and Vic. This is one of the things with this show is that sometimes celebrities are celebrities, and other times they are everyday people. Yeah, which we know because they will say things like, "Paula, I have to leave the house," not Rhea Perlman.
Yeah, that, and also it's not only confusing because she's Rhea Perlman playing a different character that's not from Cheers, which is a scene we see that from later, is that she and Danny DeVito had played a couple in Taxi.
Yes.
And yet he's not his Taxi character either. So it's this kind of like they're none of the characters they've ever played before. Watching scenes from it's a bit nuts.
And at this point, were they married in real life?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, and they were actually a real life
couple. Maybe they didn't know they were being filmed. Maybe this was just a night at the Pearl
for each other.
DeVito home.
And they're the only celebrity break, like where usually all of the at-home viewers that are like us that we see in the show, they're the only ones who are not actually playing their characters from the show. All the other ones are just
That's
like famous families, right?
true. All the other families that we see watching the show are the Bundys or the Cosbys or other famous families. Yes, on their
the
shows.
Bundys, I
sets.
forgot.
Golden Girls, yeah.
Yeah, right.
There's so much happening in this. I was kind of bummed that in the beginning in the credits they show every single person that's going to be in this, only because I forgot a lot of the people, and every time it would happen I would be surprised, like, oh my god, this person's in this. So I kind of wish they would have like done the credits at the end as a nice little,
Well,
because it's just there's so many twists and
Well,
turns.
this was also the era. This was, I think, toward the end of the era where grown-ups were perfectly happy pretending that puppets and cartoon characters were real performers. And so you've cast in order of appearance, and literally, Rhea Perlman, Porky Pig, and we were, okay, E.T. is in
Tweety
this.
Bird.
And E.T., as though E.T. is an actor playing E.T., or is it E.T. It's very confusing and weird. But, so you have this, it is such a mishmash. Then Bugs Bunny is on toward the beginning. It says nothing light or funny, basically says the world sucks and goes into his hole. And that's like, it's insane.
What I love
Can we
about
talk
Bugs
about
Bunny
that
is how
feeling?
strident he is about his feelings on man.
Can we talk about that feeling like throughout this? Like, it has its like moments and stuff, but it really is like a doomsday, like, get off your ass. What are you doing? Like throughout this whole thing, the fact that Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig and Tweety Bird or whoever, they're just like out of the freaking gate, they are taking shots at the viewer.
Well, and
straight away.
Also, it's like, where are we supposed to land tonally? It's like you were saying at the beginning of this thing. At some point, they kind of want us to take seriously two things. One, the real thing, which is the Earth is being destroyed, and we can do something about it. That's underneath the whole thing.
Yeah.
Two, dramatically, they want us to care about Mother Earth dying. So dramatically, that's the thing we're supposed to be pulling for. And then you have Porky Pig and Tweety. And Porky's stuttering and Tweety's, I taught, whatever, and it's like, how am I supposed to get into any of those mindsets when you're bombarding me from every direction?
I think it's fair that you want this thing to have, like you say, like a doomsday tone or address serious subjects. But whenever you come to putting the sugar on the cake with like humor or asides, you really get into the problem where this is written by 35 different people with 35 different approaches of how to strike that balance. And with every segment going a maximum of 4 or 5 minutes in a 2-hour special, you're just kind of thrown violently around in all of these different ways of presenting the information. Sometimes it is just a straight up terrifying montage of pollution and dead animals. And then, like you said, you get to see Porky Pig walking.
Yeah.
By the way, I think it's also the problem of trying to appeal to every age demographic, because I saw a ad that was played, I'm assuming during Saturday morning programming, and the ad is literally, see Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, Tweety Bird, and E.T. in the Earth Day special. And I was going, boy, there's some children very disappointed.
They're all
after
excited.
that.
They're popcorn. They're ready, and the Muppets are in there, and
right.
It is the end of the world. There's a great line from Frasier that was written by a writer named John Sherman, and Frasier's putting on a show, and he keeps adding to it and adding to it. And someone reminds him, he says, Frasier, less is more. And Frasier says, yes, but if less is more, think how much more will be. And that to me feels like the sort of the guiding principle of this show. It's insane.
I never thought about it until now, but Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito's Danny DeVito is a typical man who does not want to watch a show about nature. He has a very pressing appointment that we're never told where he has to go. I guess he has to pay a mobster money or something.
Poker.
Poker. Rhea Perlman has.
He wants to play poker with his friends.
Play poker. I think. Yeah, because Rick
okay.
Moranis and
Right.
And,
I forgot. And
then
that is revealed later.
then he dreams about it later. Yeah.
But those two people are also warring in my head because I don't want to watch this, but I do have a moral obligation. So they do a good job, I guess, of mirroring what's inside me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say what
we can say whatever
segments you wrote or?
Well, it's kind of the joke of the whole thing to me is that And by the way, we talk about, and we're going to make fun of this thing from here to the moon and back, but the truth is, I mean, their hearts were in the right place, and they were doing in the 90s their best to speak to everyone. It was a little misguided. It was insane, and it's hilarious now from our point of view. But then they really meant very well, and I want to sort of point that out. But the thing that's kind of the joke to me is that I was on the staff of Cheers, and we wrote one little segment for this thing. I don't remember if I contributed any lines that I might have done the thing about Norm using his recycling and being able to buy a car with all the money he'd get from beer cans or something. That might have been me, and I'm not 100% sure. But what happened was, because I was on the staff when Cheers did a piece of that, and the entire staff of the Golden Girls gets credited when there's a scene from the Golden Girls, the entire staff of Married with Children, et cetera, Cosby. So what happens now, you have dozens and dozens and dozens of writers who have now contributed to this special. And at the end of the year, there's the Writers Guild Awards, and one of the categories is, Best Variety Special, and all the writers get to vote. So, of course, every writer in Hollywood voted for themselves. We all got this free award.
Right.
And I don't deserve it. I can't put it on my wall or anything, but it's just this odd little thing that I have, Anyway, so my actual involvement, I was busy doing the show proper. I mean, we were there till midnight and later every night, rewriting and producing this show and putting it on week after week. This was filmed during the TV season, so it wasn't like on a break or something. So it really was one of those things where someone came in the room and says, "Guys, the network wants you to do this. It's really important to them." And we spent maybe 20 minutes writing this thing, and I'm sure all the other staffs were the same. It was, and we all rolled our eyes because yes, it's a good idea, but we had so much work to do all the time, and every now and again we had to write a promo for the Super Bowl or a promo for the Olympics or whatever using our characters. But it was always better than having advertising people come in and write them, because those were horrible. Do
they come in and go, "Okay, we want the Cheers cast to talk about recycling, write a bit"?
I think they gave us choices. It could be about recycling. It could be about this. It had to have to do with Earth Day, and we were given suggestions. And one of them was the recycling thing, and and it was supposed to be what each of us could do, and them kind of playing with those ideas. And so we did that. And like I say, it was just a thing that we did in an afternoon, sometime between 10 other things we were doing. And I think of all those sitcoms, I think Married with Children probably did the best because they didn't learn, which was like the Bundys. Yeah. They joke about helping out, and they joke about it, and then they realize, the Earth is going to die in 100 years. That's not what are we doing? And they go back to being themselves, and that was so on brand for their show, is that they refused to learn. So
that was the best segment. I think
I thought
it was It was the funniest, I think, like truly funny segment of the thing.
I think that was genuinely, the rest were like unintentionally funny. Like there's a great line in the Golden Girls one where it's like, "Save that polystyrene because it could be used for things that are more permanent, like videotape cases." And you're like, no.
What do we think about the person who's kind of helping string this entire thing along, which is Robin Williams playing a character called Everyman, which involves
Wait,
Robin
I just
Williams
got that.
doing it's like Pilgrim's Progress, but it is Robin Williams doing his kind of like Southern voice. Not quite sure why he's
preacher.
doing it, but
there's a preacher, kind of like a radio preacher type, a televangelist type thing. And he was doing that a lot in his act back then.
That's true. This is not quite 1992 ruler of all media. Robin. I mean, he's very famous. He's done
he did Mork and Mindy's done with that.
Sure.
And
this is his Awakenings Dead Poet Society year, so he's getting to be serious Robin Williams.
Right.
But he does what I would say is a loose 5 right up front where he does a long bit about the environment.
I believe a lot of those jokes had been from his act around that time too.
Okay.
Some of it was probably ad-libbed on the spot. They probably did a number of takes and pieced it all together because he was very much like that. But I feel like it's leaden. It falls flat. I don't find his stand-up funny, but I would have to go back and ask. We'd have to go back and find people who have been frozen since 1990 and have them watch it, because it's impossible for us to kind of enjoy it the way 1990sers might have.
So I watched this as a 10-year-old, and I remember going, I like Robin Williams, and I don't like this bit.
Yeah.
Like I did not think it was funny.
I don't know that I would have either, but it's like. It's also that plus another 32 years.
Right.
I mean, I can't really defend it. But also one interesting little side note is that, you say that each scene is like 4 or 5 minutes. This is sort of the tail end of when television had longer scenes. Is before MTV MTV started with the video thing, but as far as TV shows, it was Seinfeld that began this practice of doing very short scenes, particularly in multicam shows. And it changed sitcoms. People say, "Oh, it changed sitcoms because it was a show about nothing." That didn't change anything, and there had been shows about nothing. The way Seinfeld changed it is instead of doing 6 scenes a show, which was standard for us back then, they were doing 20 scenes a show. It had never been heard of on a multicam. And so going back and watching shows from just before that, the scenes do just seem to go on and on. You're just forever in these sets, but that was the pace then. It's an odd bit of museum theater.
So Seinfeld kind of, without broadcasting it, appealed more to a modern viewer. ADD kind of trained people into that rhythm without them knowing it.
Yes, and it was almost accidental because the conventional wisdom on a multicam was that you do like 6 to maybe 10 scenes a show because you've paid for whatever sets and you can't really go outside. And Seinfeld was fortunately written and run by people who had never done sitcoms before. And they had 4 characters that neither lived nor worked together. So they start following them out into the world and dovetailing stories and stitching things together. So they would go out for a scene and it would be 2 lines and then you're on to another scene. And in I remember sitting with other multicam writers watching an episode of Seinfeld with a pad and pencil and like making tally marks and counting the scenes. We thought the TV would explode. It was all 20 scenes. What's going on? And then what happened is it reinvigorated the sitcom, which was becoming very stale at that time. And so suddenly shows like Friends, shows like whatever was on at the air at that time, they had that now in the toolkit. And it engages the viewer very differently because you now have to, okay, we're over there now. Oh, now we're over here. Now that ties in with this over there. And when you actively engage a viewer in constructing the show in their head, you are going to get a more engaged audience. And it woke up the series.
Right. Well, we weren't there yet with this show.
Sorry.
No,
we were not.
please.
No, we were not. We were not. We were in the old. Let's take our time. We don't have to worry about cable. We don't have to worry about the internet. We're TV. We can
let that tube warm up so I can really see Mother Earth. And by the way, Mother Earth comes in at minute 5 of Robin Williams talking about how wonderful man is. I'm just going to talk about kind of the thread that connects this show, and then we can break into our individual thoughts on bits and bobs. But Bette Midler comes in a giant godlike form. She has trash all over her. She's Mother Earth, and she's sick. If they had given Bette Midler, I realize she's supposed to be playing the pathos of the Earth dying, but you need to give her something a little funny or maybe a song to lean into, as it's Bette Midler who can do both those things well.
But do you have a song with Bette Midler and Barbra Streisand in the same show?
I did forget to say that. When Rhea Perlman is lecturing Danny DeVito that she wants him to watch this show because it's important, and then the first thing we see is 3 minutes of Epcot style like space footage and Barbra Streisand singing a song to us. I was like, wow, Danny DeVito must be hooked right now.
Well, let me ask you this. Here's an interesting. It just popped into my head. She is saying, we've got to watch this show. It's important. But then we go to, there's like stuff going on and Mother Earth is going to die, which is being on the news. It's not a show. Yes. It's a news report of a thing that is happening. So at what point what were they watching before?
So are we watching the Time Warner presents the Earth Day special on ABC? Or did she know, well, there's going to be... I forgot to say that Robin Williams is also playing Everyman, and he's in the middle of Town Square.
Talking about how great men are.
Yes,
humans.
Which looks like the background on American's Funniest Home Videos, that weird Eternal Sunset suburb. Yeah. And all the extras who are crowded around him can't speak because it'll bump their pay. So it's very creepy that Robin Williams is orating and this crowd of people is just silently like shuffling around him.
Yeah, the whole thing is weird. Yeah, and is it kind of like it was going to be the Earth Day special, but then this thing happened with Mother Earth, almost like a War of the Worlds thing. We interrupt this program to show you that Mother Earth is dying. Wait, but you're interrupting the Time Warner Earth Day? I don't know what they think they're watching on TV. I mean, except for news coverage. And then it's like then everyone's watching the news coverage of this thing. But before that, it's like, what is this show that they have to watch?
This is like Inception. Yeah, figure out the reality that's actually playing out.
You know what? I actually think it's better than Inception.
Well, I'm really impressed with the people who live in this town, who first of all, they're being like, I feel like they're a little, I don't want to say dumb, but they're a little small-minded in that they're being very influenced by Robin Williams very easily to conclude that man is the best thing that's ever happened to the world. But then later on, they're like Carl Sagan's holding court, and they're all just calmly pay attention to him do a segment from PBS. Like they're very like they change very quickly, and they learn from information and a whole new world we've never experienced in a while.
I assume that this is kind of an alternate dimension where Robin Williams is heading all of these people who are actually his drones. So whenever he turns his head, they all turn their head, and they're just kind of going along with it. They carry out his whims, but they learn with him.
Well, he is every man. So he is they are he, you know, and then Carl Sagan, who is someone else, not part of every man, a different man, gets to then address them.
So that's the overarching idea, is that Mother Earth comes to Earth to die, I guess.
Well, she comes to yell at Robin Williams.
Yes, but
then in the middle of yelling at him, you know.
And then she turns in from God size into human size, and then they put her in human hospital, where she is looked after by Josh Brolin
and Doogie Howser.
Right?
Yeah.
And the woman from China Beach.
Dana Delaney.
Dana Delaney.
Is it Josh Brolin or James Brolin? Which one's which?
Who cares?
Who's the dad? Who's the dad?
It was the most affordable Brolin. It was James Brolin, by the way. Classically, your most affordable Brolin. So that's that's what's happening.
Edward
James Almost.
I love
who's
his
he playing?
character. He is playing the one person in this universe who hates Mother Earth and doesn't give a shit if she dies. He comes in like, don't give me that God and country nonsense. Yes. Mother Earth dies, she dies.
Also, him and also Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Every lawyer.
Who's playing every lawyer. He's playing every lawyer. Those are the two. But who is... Okay, so Doogie Howser is obviously... is Doogie Howser's character.
Probably.
Right, I'm assuming.
I think they call him Dr. Howser at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, but is Edward James Olmos a character on TV? Like, is he a detective or something on a TV show at this time, and he's playing that character? Or
yeah, he was on the detective series Mother Hater. he hates everyone named Mother.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
The best kind of detective.
That's the overarching. Does anyone have individual segments that they really particularly struck them? Nathan, did you have anything that really honked out at you?
Well, I love the Epcot music and montages. Those are always special in my heart. And also, I love any time we break away from white society and head into the hip hop urban attitude. That's always my favorite.
Sure.
As a kid, that would have been my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about what you said about like, do they write these raps? Because in the credits they do say that they write the rap. But I was thinking, like, did someone say, oh, here's what you should write about or whatever? But it makes sense what you're saying. Like, here's some ideas, and then whoever's tasked with writing segments. So these rappers did just write about whatever. And there's a funny line from Heavy D where he rhymes something he says something about Fisher dying. And then instead of saying Mother Earth is crying or Mother E is crying, which would have rhymed to the line, he says Father C is crying. And why does he bring up Santa Claus as part of why is Santa Claus on par with Mother Earth?
I really don't know.
Father C. Wow, I've never heard that term for the ocean. Father C.
No, Father C.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mother Earth and Father C.
He's thinking Father Christmas. Father Christmas, Father C.
So you think that he was referring to British Santa Claus?
So that's like what
Father Christmas, do not shed a tear.
It's like what Patsy and Fonzie would have called Father Christmas. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Father C.
That is totally it. Okay, now it makes now Heavy D, Mr. Heavy D, rest in peace. I apologize.
Father C, yeah. Mother Earth, Father C. Sure.
I wonder.
Thought, Mother Earth and Santa Claus are all together, but no, Father C, that makes sense.
In some sort of Justice League.
I've never heard Father C.
Yeah. The one cameo they couldn't land was Santa Claus on this thing.
I really liked. We talked about it, but I love the Married with Children segment. I loved that they didn't they didn't stray from their characters at all. They're just like the worst people in the world, and that was lots of fun. There's so like we said, there's so much happening. I loved Downtown Julie Brown being also a reporter on this news show.
Yeah, they filmed the entire thing within the 15 minutes she was famous.
Yeah, exactly. And had she ever been a reporter
for MTV?
Yeah,
MTV News.
She was a reporter on the news section.
I'm
I
sure
thought
they
she had like
her on.
a dance show.
I don't think they delineated like their hard news reporters of MTV.
Yes, and the people who went to like spring break.
Yeah, well, they didn't have like Jesse doing MTV News. You know what I mean? Like
no,
I'm saying, like
yeah, I think she wasn't seen as a Pauly Shore level goofball.
Okay.
Dan, what did you think? Was there things that worked for you and things that particularly did not work for you in either extreme?
I think like I think if they'd done the sitcoms with audiences, and if they'd somehow persuaded us to put a little more time into the writing, I think that could have been kind of interesting. And if they'd settled on a tone, but I think everything was so busy fighting itself that you could fix one part of it, but then the rest of it is still colliding against it. I mean, that whole thing with Michael Keaton, where he is part of a corporation that is like,
oh my gosh,
is like polluting and destroying the planet. And now babies are being born deformed because of a chemical he's putting out there. And he's so ashamed. I mean, he won the lawsuit, but I'm so ashamed.
Michael Keaton gets up in that gazebo that Robin Williams was speaking in, and he does what seems like an audition scene from Spotlight. Like, he is being so serious about this man who poisoned children, and we've just gotten done seeing E.T. give a magical book to children in an alleyway.
Yeah, and Doc Brown from Back to the Future is flying all over. Great Scott, and they're born deformed. I'm so ashamed. And also he had high price, but he also won the case, and now he's ashamed. Oh, are you going to give the money back? No. I'm just ashamed. I'm rich and ashamed. Really? What are you going to do to give back? I'm just ashamed. Okay, I got to get back in my helicopter.
Look,
I'm the one who has to sleep.
I said I was sorry. I said I was sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I said it in front of E.T. and Mayim Bialik. What do you want from me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we had Mayim Bialik, Jonathan Brandis,
Jack Lemmon,
and
of all people, was a coach.
And Jack
Our
Lemmon.
coach, Jack Lemmon.
Very strange.
What's your sports team that Jack Lemmon at the age of 70 is your coach?
He's this children's coach. He goes, I'm going to make sure we don't use so much water on the field.
Yeah.
He wouldn't retire. These guys. Look, I used to teach. These guys, they never retire. But then there was also isn't the kid who plays Rufio from Hook?
Is that who it was?
Or
It's
who is
usually
that? That's who he looks like.
It's usually three children. It's Brandis Bialik, and then the other little boy who did the voice of Chucky in the first three Child's Play movies. And then occasionally the kid who I don't...
Why wasn't Chucky on this?
No. Even I have my limits.
What are you doing to the earth?
I know killing. And these plastic beer cans, oh, brother.
What do you think I'm made of?
I'm going to last forever.
Can I tell you about the scene that I thought was genuinely well done, at least in terms of acting, was the Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams two-person scene. Mm-hmm. It is a 5-minute unbroken two-person scene, and it really is a testament to good acting can turn even the most thrown off writing around sometimes. Dustin Hoffman is so invested in playing this character that he made me watch the scene with more attention than I paid most of the other.
And there's it's Spitfire. They are just going back and forth. No, like,
they're pros.
It felt. They are pros.
The two.
I also liked the the Meryl Streep. I thought that was.
Oh, I was going to say that is the opposite.
Cheesy and stuff, but
go ahead, make your case.
I just enjoyed these two.
Once I saw the man bun, once I saw the ponytail, I was out.
On
Look,
street.
I agree. That
I wish.
I'm not saying by any means that this was as good or any like. I'm saying I felt there was this feeling of like warmth
They're
in
movie
this scene or
stars.
something.
Yeah, they know how to act
Of
very well.
course.
Yes. So yes, they are. They
Okay,
are
so it
making
worked.
a
Like,
meal.
I
out.
don't know. Like that's.
I don't think the writing in that scene was enough to get me. It's also very strange because, as we were saying with Tonage, we have Robin Williams. He is every man. Dustin Hoffman. He is every lawyer. We are watching the symbolism of corporations versus humanity, good versus indifference, and then we go to this scene with Kevin Costner and Meryl Streep where they are just playing two people in a bar. There's nothing metaphorical about it. Kevin Costner is very sweetly an aw shucks kind of delivery talking about how he recycles all his cans in the bar and he has a low flow dishwasher. So
Yeah.
what is this, like a church play, or are we
I have
watching
a
a slice of
very-
life?
Well, I think
I have
okay.
a very low, I have a very low intelligence when it comes to being affected by things that are so obviously trying to affect you. That I even like if people say like, oh, like if someone cries in a movie, they're like people might say like, oh, the music, everything in there was intended. All it was just to make you cry. That's the point of it. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And it worked for me.
Mhm.
Exactly. I wasn't sitting there with the cynic, even though I'm as cynical about any of this stuff. Sometimes it bleeds through and it gets me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they did.
I mean,
No,
I was weeping during this.
I think they did the best job of what they possibly could with that scene. It just seemed eternal as
Yes,
he was
yeah.
talking about each step of how
It
he
was
was
slow.
going to recycle his goods.
Right. There's
It
also
was very slow.
it's a very tricky task in this thing also. There's a cognitive challenge to the idea that on the one hand you're talking about the death of the planet, and they're talking. Carl Sagan is talking about these, the reasons there. And it seems when you're laying out the problem, it seems it is a huge, fantastic problem. And then you go to the Huxtables saying, well, if we just don't take the lids off when we're cooking. And it's like, yeah, I guess if we're all doing these little things, but some of them seem so tiny. And it seems almost laughable that this is going to say we're hearing gloom and doom and the death of the earth, and just don't take the lids off when you're making spaghetti so much. You're wasting that heat. It's like
Yeah.
but weird.
There is one because I kept thinking like, are they going to ignore the fact that none of this is going to solve our problem, that we actually need government and government action to solve these issues? And there is one like one line I think in the entire show where it's like someone goes, yeah, but we also need governments to get involved. And then they never touch on it ever again. I think Doogie Howser says it.
There was also that was mentioned in the Harold Ramis Martin short.
Oh, okay.
They're bouncing back
Okay.
and forth, and he says, "So you think the government should get involved?" I didn't say that. You said that. They go through that, but it was
Yeah.
mentioned to mention, but it was never really thoughtfully put out there. The fact that we do need that.
Well, can I go kind of like in because I was thinking the same thing. If I can just go very macro with it for a minute, because I was interested to see how Earth Day actually came to be. Because by 1990, I was like, okay, who was behind this whole movement? So it started in 1970. 1990 is a big deal because it is the 20th anniversary of Earth Day, and it is also the first international Earth Day. Earth Day was started kind of spearheaded by three big forces in America. There was a senator from Wisconsin named Gaylord Nelson, who I'm sure had a horrible time in middle school, but he used all of that energy to get real environmental actions started. He was using the energy that was used in the sit-ins in colleges against the Vietnam War, and he saw these and went, the only way that we're going to get environmental change is if we get young people and college students and get this whole wave of we need change in the world and harness that. And joining him was a Christian preacher named John McConnell and the United Auto Workers Union. So if you need some kind of perspective on how politically everything can change dramatically, we had a born-again Christian preacher and the auto worker industry going in favor of Earth Day and environmentalism. They organize all this. It is so optimistic as it needed to be. It didn't seem ignorant, but it was very optimistic, and they were rejecting government contributions. They were rejecting everything but people's personal donations that they sent to them. They were like, well, we're going to get our message out through people and education and things like the Whole Earth catalog, which was this big circulation that went out and it taught you how to compost and things like that. Fast forward 20 years to 1990, and this group of people who started Earth Day have split into two different groups. There is the Earth Day 20 Foundation, and there is Earth Day 1990. Earth Day 1990 is very much keeping with the same kind of like hippie, we all have to just get together and put this forward without the man kind of ideals. And they're very critical of Earth Day 20, which is the much more successful split group, because they were responsible for producing a lot of stuff in this special. They are taking government foundations, and one of the main people on their board of directors was the board from Hewlett-Packard, a company that at the time was the second biggest emitter of chlorofluorocarbons in Silicon Valley and refused to switch to alternative solvents. But they were taking their money, and they were the big push forward. But when you have those kind of people on your board of directors, you're going to go a lot softer on we need to put the thumb screws to corporations and to major business interests, and a lot more onto, well, turn out the lights when you leave the room. You're the reason why this Earth is tanking. It's because you're sitting in that shower so long. And I don't.
That's the whole thing of like carbon footprint being like, oh, that we all talk about that now as like, oh yeah, we all do our part, but that's really like something that the corporations came up with to like,
well, it's
make us think that it was our fault again.
It's our fault, because we're not putting like empty bottles in the toilet tanks to make each flush a little bit less. They're free to like spew every imaginable kind of dark substance out of every smokestack in America.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to ignore that. Oh man, well, you got to pick that up. You got to throw that Kleenex over here instead of over there, whatever. But it is just it's just a crazy card trick in a way. It's kind of like sleight of hand. Like, where's the blame? Where's the blame?
And it really turned it into abstraction. Like, this is the first year of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Remember that cartoon where it was literally just a cartoon of one person going like, I love polluting. And then through sheer, these teenagers come in and like, shouldn't do that. And they throw them out, and then the Earth goes green again, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, everybody has a lot more lip service or possible education. I don't know how much more has really changed. What's the biggest thing now? NFTs, the biggest like energy sucker you can think of to no discernible,
Bitcoin.
usable.
Yeah. No, it's the fact that the Earth Day people split up into two pretty much warring factions tells you exactly where everything is going to go. Because that's always going to be the hurdle to fixing the Earth, is human beings. It's us. There are just too many very powerful people and have an Earth just exactly the way they like it. And they will fool half the people into siding with them, and then we'll all fight each other. Hey, we're watching it all play out over and over. But the fact that the group that got together to fix everything couldn't stay together is, to me, is just a perfect metaphor.
Right. Now, as depressing as that all... Yeah.
I guess that Doogie Howser, he also does say at the end, I forgot, he says vote with your votes as well. Like there is like tiny little nods to that bigger picture, but overall you're right. It's plastic bottles and toilets.
Yeah, it's also vote with your vote, but it's like, and then not to open up into this branch of it, but it's like, we can only vote for the people who are put in front of us. And they're all put in front of us by the people who are, we're screwing the world this way or that way, and we get to choose.
But the good thing that came out of this was that you did receive a plaque.
I did.
For your possible contributions.
Yes.
And can we see that right now?
I hope the camera can get this.
He brought it. Now you bring this with you everywhere, right?
Oh yeah. Instead of a driver's license.
And this is made out of polystyrene, right?
This will last longer than all of us, if I have any say.
It was made with cruder oil than it was made with Chucky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is the Writers Guild Award to Dan O'Shannon. That's me, for Time Warner Presents the Earth Day Special, which I think we talked about. Was Time Warner literally called this the Time Warner presents the Earth Day special. That's what it's called. That's how it's billed. That's how it was, it's in the books. It's not the Earth Day special brought to you by Time Warner. They literally took top billing over the planet Earth throughout. This is the plaque that we all voted ourselves as writers in 1990. And I cannot put this on a wall or put this out. We're seeing it's in a drawer somewhere. And I brought it out.
Oh, I thought that would become your new calling card.
No, I wish. I joke about carrying it around, but it's such. I find it sad a little bit and embarrassing. I know writers who have only won this in their careers, and they have it up in their, when you walk in the door, you see it, where pictures of Jesus used to be. It's like this. There's the Writers Guild Award I won. But it's just a joke. I'm sorry to say, and I hate that it is a joke, and I sort of hate looking back and realizing how much we all took it as a joke. It was just a 20-minute thing we were going to write in the middle of the day, and we let other people worry about it, and it became this big mishmash that we get to joke around about today. But, like I say, their hearts were in the right place, and I wouldn't mind if somebody took a whack at doing something like it again, but knew what they were doing.
How could you actually do it and it not be corny?
Well, you don't do that which is corny. I mean, you start by you start something like that by eliminating that. If we did that now, you either find the way to do it that's new, that hasn't been done a million times, or if it has been done a million times, you simply don't do it, and you find a tone and you stick to it. And by the way, you treat the audience with a certain amount of respect. You treat them as though they're smart enough to come to the table and have the discussion, and you don't. Porky Pig and Carl Sagan should never be in the same special.
And even if they were in the same special, because now you're stepping on one of my pitches, which is...
Oh, boy, sorry. But Porky should have ended the thing with that. That's all, folks. It should have actually had the world ending.
I'm amazed that he did not refer to, I hope that's not all, folks, at the end of this. But one way that you would do it is you don't give people the same nothing piddly solutions that we have been given since 1990. Mm-hmm. Reduce, reuse, recycle, turn off the light. Even when they do it, like they just did a investigative report here in Cleveland where they put cameras in trash cans. Everyone was dutifully putting their recycling in one can and their trash in the other. It all goes to the same dump. They don't do it. It's too expensive. Mm-hmm. They don't care. And that's the kind of thing that makes people shut down and turn everything into the earth's dying. Yeah, it's too bad, huh?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like we're not giving people solutions.
And then it's kind of like, okay, so you can raise awareness among the viewers, but, unless... I don't know. You'd have to start such a huge movement to get something done, but then immediately you have billions of dollars pumped into the other side to make the people who want to save the world look like idiots. And
here comes old Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah. So, well, that's always a risk.
Well, as you go off, of course, to write the next Earth Day special that will make a difference,
this will be the one
together.
It'll change human nature.
I want to see SpongeBob. I want to see Doja Cat. I want to see every meme that I want to see the This Is Fine dog. I want to see them all together and talking about how to save the planet. But until that happens, thank you for being here. And is there anything that you wanted to talk about that's coming up that's exciting you?
No.
No? What?
No.
You're working on a very exciting special that I'm very interested in.
Am I?
Yeah.
For Cleveland listeners here, yes, I'm working on a documentary about the golden age of Cleveland kids shows. And it's interesting to go back in time and just go through tons and tons of old news articles and footage and photographs that people just haven't seen in years. And I'm doing this with a guy named Mike Olszewski, and we digitally recreated the sets of a lot of old Cleveland classic TV shows that baby boomers would have remembered. And we're looking to hopefully finish it in June. So it's really fascinating.
Great.
To me.
And did you do you know of any other? I mean, you would know, because it's you and you know yourself. But did you work on any other TV specials at all through history?
TV specials? I don't think so. I was asked to write the Oscars once, but I didn't go.
Okay.
No, because I think as I write stories and characters, so there's really no
Yeah.
point in me writing. Usually, variety things are like it's that horrible kind of like he's the doctor on a well-known whatever. She's a hooker in the critically acclaimed. Together, they're our next presenters. That kind of stuff. And I don't. Well, wait. Although
no
that was pretty
TV
good.
movies?
Although that was pretty good.
You're back on.
Any TV movies?
No. I've done animated shorts. I've done books. I've done sci-fi and drama and sitcoms. But I'm afraid that's all.
That's right.
That's
and
all,
that's
folks.
why you are never, ever
Coming
going to
back.
be on this show again. However, Dan O'Shan, thank you. It's been a complete pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Same here.
Yes.
All right. Oh, and
Thank you
Mother.
for coming on. This is amazing to have an actual person who
Who's
worked
involved
on
in this
something we
thing,
talk
yeah.
about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I earned this baby right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And we'll be sending you one from us as well.
Yes,
Hooray!
our network special plaque that everyone gets.
Yay!
So
It'll be smaller than that, so you can fit it within that clean space around the dust
Okay.
where that used to hang.
All right, thanks.
all right, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, Mother Earth doesn't die at the end. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.